Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Lindsay Coble,
Dr. Noelle Crosby.
and we are the Sound Sisters. And today, for our Be Curious segment, we are highlighting an upcoming tinnitus conference that's happening in Iowa on August 14th and 15th. That tinnitus conference is Management of the Tinnitus and Hyperacusis Patient. You can attend either in person or virtually. My office will be attending that conference virtually.
Yeah, and I know that that's a conference that they have every year, right?
Yeah, I think it's annually, and it's a really
Yeah.
great conference that combines clinical and science.
Yeah.
Really great speakers, kind of forward thinking about tinnitus care. So we're excited to attend. I've never attended before.
Yeah. And is it patients and
Yeah,
clinicians or
patients and clinicians
that's
can
what I was
attend.
thinking too.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be curious. You might want to be curious to attend that conference. All right. So today we have a special guest, Valerie Karpeck. And our word today is tenacity. And we chose that word because she had to have a lot of tenacity to get where she is today. I remember meeting Valerie for the first time at ADA, and I was so impressed with her. Just what she's achieved over the years. So in May of 2019, Valerie was appointed Regional Vice President, Northeast Region at Widex. And she had been involved as a sales leader in hearing healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and medical devices. Then she later advanced to vice president, national sales at Widex, and then moved to WSA Audiology as vice president, sales, wholesale US, where she remains. Valerie also played an active role in events such as Widex's Key Opinion Leaders, and she's going to share a little bit of that with us coming up too. And she's been involved in a lot of the community programs that Widex hosts, the community give back. And she is committed to assisting hearing care professionals and patients. So, welcome, Valerie. We're so glad that you're here today.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be
Welcome,
here.
Val. Welcome, Val. I'm so excited. I got to know Val when I went to Germany with the Signia trip. So that's where I got to know Val real well. And we had such a conversation just about women and leadership and career. So I'm really excited for everyone to get to know Val. Really, the industry should know Val.
Yes.
Before we get to that, Val, tell us just about you outside of work, outside of leadership. Who is Val?
Who am I? Yeah. I think outside of my career, I identify most strongly as a mom. I'm a boy mom. I have two. My younger son is 20, and my older son it will be 30 in a month, actually. I have two boys, a little bit one and one in terms of how they were raised, which just meant for like 20 years straight, I sat on the bleachers.
Yeah.
Because one came out of it, the other one went in. So. I'm a super fan, that's for sure. Not an
Oh.
athlete. I was the student in my family, but definitely a super fan that way. And then aside from that, I'm a reader. I'm always reading. I have typically some sort of personal, professional development book, and then I love novels, historical fiction,
Oh,
and
I do too. I'll
American fiction. Yeah.
have to talk to you about that.
Yeah. So if you ever need a book recommendation, find me or come on to Goodreads if you're not on Goodreads, because it's a great site just for readers. So you'll find me with a book. And then I became a pandemic Pelotoner. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
got
me too,
my
Val. Peloton.
Peloton. Yeah. Yeah. I got my bike beginning of April of 2020. And I truly thought, like, well, it's a 30-day return period. So if this whole thing blows over, I'm just going to send it back. So anyway, I that said, it's 5 years and I'm
Had it
still
forever.
fine. Yeah, yeah. So those are the things I do when I'm not working,
And
and
it's still there, and you're still going strong.
still going strong, still going
Are you a
strong.
biker or do you do the other
That's so
courses?
fun.
Yeah, so
What?
I'm definitely on the bike when I'm
Uh-huh.
home. I try and get on every day that I'm home, but I also use the app for bar class. I love bar class for strength workouts. I do the guided walks. I
Oh,
do
yeah.
meditation every morning, a morning meditation. So I use it fully, I would
Full
say.
capacity. I love it. I do
Yeah.
too. I love it.
And that is all on the Peloton app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. So user friendly and easy to access
Interesting.
anywhere, really.
Sure
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, and I know when you travel a lot, it's hard, sometimes hard to, keep up with exercising and doing everything that you know that you should do. I know when I was working as a rep, I decided to do a half a marathon. So
Oh,
every day I would have to
wow.
go to the hotel that I was staying at and hog the treadmill for sometimes for 15 miles, 13 miles, whatever it was, 13. And so I would plan that. I was so consistent in planning it and I really committed to it. But it was maybe for a couple of months, but that was a difficult path, but I did it and I did my half marathon and I was really proud of myself.
Yeah, my philosophy is just something every day.
Are you
So
a
if
Yes.
hotel gym goer, Val? Do you go to the
not
hotel
as much, not
gym?
if I can
Here.
help it. Like I try and do something every day, and that largely things you can do in your room. So like I'll do a standing core workout and a bar workout and those strength workout like in my room. Sometimes I'll go if they have a Peloton bike in the hotel, I'll usually venture down. Sometimes on the treadmills, but mostly I do it in the room. And so if I can do 20 minutes when
Mm-hmm.
I'm traveling, I feel like that's great. And
That
then
is great.
on the weekends, maybe I do a little more, but it's a way to find balance and like just get yourself ready for the day.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, that's
love that.
something for me to try to commit to when I'm doing a lot of my traveling. So, all right, I want to ask you a question about your career path and how you ended up as in your position that you have now for WSA Audiology. I remember hearing some of this story, and that's what impressed me so much.
Oh, yeah. So I could talk forever, but I'll keep it brief here. So I would say if I had to maybe categorize my career in a phrase, it would be nothing has gone to plan. And that's a fantastic thing as it turns out. But I went to college, like all of us here, and in a small liberal arts school in Wisconsin. And I sort of jokingly say I graduated with my bachelor's degree and a 1-year-old, which is where the first plan took a pivot. I was the kid that walked into school with every class planned out for 4 years, knowing exactly what I was going to do. And when my son, the one who's about to be 30, when he arrived, that plan changed a bit, right? So I so lucky to have a great family. So I was raising him on my own with the help of my family for sure. Finished school, and when you graduate with a bachelor's degree and a 1-year-old, your main objective is find someone who will hire me, right? And
Hmm.
so while I majored in international business and in Spanish, I ended up working in IT, first recruiting briefly and then in sales. So that's where my sales career started, where I was placing IT consultants. Super fun thing as Y2K was upon us, by the way,
Oh,
in terms of what we thought would happen in our
oh
world. And what
yeah.
didn't is that we flipped the clock to the year 2000. But anyway, from there, I had an opportunity to pivot. And, in my heart, I always wanted to do something where I felt I was making a difference and helping others. And while today this might not feel like the direct path there, I ended up working in pharmaceuticals as a rep for Procter& and Gamble
Hmm.
and learned so much there. It was fantastic experience from a company perspective. Maybe over time a little less fulfilling from a job perspective, as if you're in an ENT clinic or hospital and you see the drug reps walking in with lunch and samples, and I didn't feel I was having the impact that I wanted to. And so Procter& and Gamble sold their pharmaceutical division. And then I was trying to figure out what is my next move? And I sort of stumbled into our industry by way of a clinic who was looking for a hearing instrument specialist. I'd
Hmm.
never done it. I knew nothing about our industry. But went in, full-hearted and was licensed and working in the clinic for a short time, where I really came to realize that my place is a little bit on this side of the fence, and maybe not being in the same four walls every day, but helping people otherwise. And so, as I sort of came to that realization, an opportunity came up with a startup in tinnitus, which is very close to my heart. And I've been to Rich Tyler's conference in Iowa several times, but with a startup handheld sound therapy device called SoundCure.
Oh, okay.
So that was one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. One, I'm passionate about tinnitus. Two, with a startup, you start with a blank slate and sort of what you do, you did, if that makes sense. So I enjoyed that tremendously. And if you do go to the conference in Iowa, you'll be treated to like one of the world's only octagonal barns, which is where they have their evening event. So
That was why I was enticed to go in
Oh,
person, Val, but I'm
wow.
doing
yeah,
it virtually. I'm doing it virtually.
I
Yeah,
know. It's cool.
I've
It's
heard it's
cool.
cool.
that is
Yeah.
cool.
But anyway, so as startups go, sometimes they don't. And so an opportunity came my way to join the Snova group at Phonak. And so I spent a number of years there. I was able to be in a variety of different roles. I started in the field. I did practice development, so helping our providers, maximize their opportunities in their clinics, and then moved into, a leadership role. So that's where I first started really leading others.
Right.
And then in 2019, as you mentioned, I was approached by the Widex brand and joined there. And I really felt like Widex was a place where I could have an impact, which is super important to me, and have a voice. And both of those have been true. So I started leading the Northeast. I then was leading the East. I then was leading the East and doing commercial programs. Then for I think about the last 4 years or so, I've been in the VP of sales role, first for the Widex brand, and now as of October with both the Signia team and the Widex team in the organization that I lead. So it's been a lot of fun and a great
You
journey.
have a great
Just a few
team.
minutes there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well, no,
great.
it's funny when you were talking about Sound Cure, I was definitely in the thick of that. I used
Yeah.
it. I remember I had a few patients that had it too. And then all of a sudden, it didn't end up staying around anymore.
Yeah.
Val,
Yeah.
when you first thought of your career, when you were going to international business as an undergrad, what was your thought? What did you want to do?
Oh, that's a great question. You're 18 when
I
you
know.
decide those things. And my parents used to say that I was the child they thought they would never see again. And I
Hmm.
have a lovely family. So, but I always have been a little restless by nature and had a wanderlust. So I would say, I had been a Spanish student since the seventh grade. And I loosely determined that I wanted to work in business and
Hmm.
that I wanted to use my language skills and likely live outside of the US. And
Yeah.
probably that's as far as I got with it. And
Oh,
then, life had the plans that it had, but
but you
yeah,
still get to live out your travel and your wanderlust. And
I
yeah.
sure do.
Do
And
you know
it's,
Spanish? Do you still know Spanish?
horribly now
Oh.
because I don't use it enough. I use the Duolingo app. So
Uh-huh.
I'm promoting all these products.
Right?
But
We're not getting paid
Not
for
paid
them.
here.
yeah, we're not getting, I'm not paid for anything, but I use the Duolingo app when I'm in the airport or whatever, and I
Yeah.
have a few minutes just to stay fresh. And truthfully, after a margarita or two, my Spanish gets way better. So
Oh,
there's
No
that.
yeah.
doubt.
Pull it out from the
The tequila
archives.
brings out the
But yeah,
Spanish.
but I think, I until recently lived not just in the town I grew up in, but in the subdivision I grew up in.
Hmm.
Oh,
Because as a single parent to start with, you live by where your support is, right? And then I was married and now not, but so I raised my kids there with a lot of stability. But I
Yeah.
have this ability, given the work that I'm lucky enough to do, that I can sort of leave and come back and
Hmm.
experience different things in different places, and then come back to the place where I wanted to raise my kids. And so
Love that.
I have a little bit best of both worlds, as it turns out.
oh, that's nice.
I love that.
Next,
I live
I'm
so close to my
wondering.
parents too. So
Oh,
I know
yeah, you do
coming from
too.
the rep world and then opening a practice, it's like having that
Yeah.
support is you can't even put a dollar amount on it. It's just so nice to have.
Oh, I'm sure that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yes. But, everyone leads a little differently, but we think that, or I personally think that women bring something unique and powerful to the table. How would you say your experience as a woman has shaped your leadership style?
Mm.
Oh, I appreciate that one. I think a little bit I referenced before that I can relate to other women in so many different circumstances. I've been a single mom. I've been a married mom with young kids. I've been a divorced mom.
Mhm.
I'm not quite an empty nester, light at the end of that tunnel, but I'm not far from that now. And so I've lived through so many different life situations and so many different parenting situations that it helps me relate
Love
to
that.
those that I'm responsible to.
Mm-hmm.
And those that I lead, particularly other females. Not to say our male colleagues don't have some of these challenges, they absolutely do.
Mm-hmm.
But it helps me understand that, of course, when you have the big meeting is when your child is sick and your babysitter cancels. Of course, when you're, supposed to do these things is when the juggling act you're doing with a dual career household, falls apart. Of course, like these are all of the things that are so normal. I've lived them,
Yeah.
I've done them, and so I think I have a different perspective on how to lead others as they go through these times in their life and how to help them understand that our jobs, whether you're in clinic, whether you're on the industry side, they will take everything you give them, which
Mm-hmm.
can be everything
Mm-hmm.
if you're not careful.
Yep.
And so my leadership style, I think, is just one of openness and understanding that we're all people who have the best intentions and are doing everything we can in our careers and at our home. And sometimes those things go really well together and sometimes they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that's my approach. And then truly as a people leader, I think that, I work for the team. And, if I'm successful, it's only because I've empowered a team to be successful and I've helped them grow. So my job is really to work for them and to give them everything they need so that they can go out and, grow and be successful themselves. And so that's really how I approach it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
so humanistic. I feel like it's such just a
Yes.
humanistic approach, which I feel like is the leadership model that millennials particularly really respond well to. And like you said, we've all gone through different things, all ages, but I think it's just so humanistic that that's what people are looking for in a leader
Yes.
right now.
Yeah, thanks.
Hmm. I want to know, do you have a mentor? When you think of all these career changes you've gone through, was there like a mentor or a boss that stands out to you that you just really looked up to or that you still talk to?
Yeah, I think that as leaders, we tend to model ourselves a little bit after those who've had the greatest impact on us, and then maybe avoid some other behaviors that we've
Yeah.
seen, right, over time. But
Totally.
early in my career when I worked for Procter and Gamble, my first leader was a woman who happened to have been an audiologist, by the way,
Oh,
and
funny. What a
and
change.
Oh,
ended up
that's
in
really
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and ended up in pharma. And her name's Mary Lawton, and I'll make sure she sees this. But the one thing that she had, so many things that helped me grow, but is that she first recognized things in me that I didn't even recognize yet in myself.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of restlessness of wanting to always grow and learn and be involved in things. And so she somehow saw this in me. So I was always doing my job, but then I was always doing other things. I was involved in like committees and panels and, those types of things. And she would just sort of throw these things at me that I loved. I loved every bit of it, but I didn't yet recognize that it really was fulfilling what I needed. Because who wants to just do one job?
Mm-hmm.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
Let's do more. But anyway, so first she really took the time to understand me and find things about me I had yet to recognize in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the other thing is that, particularly in leadership, there's hasn't always been a lot of space for women.
Mm-hmm.
And certain industries, there's more, certain industries, there's less. And in our industry, shockingly, given that it's a
I know.
female profession,
Mm-hmm.
there aren't as many female leaders as there should be.
Mm-hmm.
But her philosophy was one of reach back and pull. And so, meaning when you are a female and you've gotten to a place in your career, it is our responsibility and our duty to reach back and pull the
Mm-hmm.
younger
I
generation
love
up
that.
so that
Yeah.
they can also thrive and develop into the leaders that we know we have
Mm-hmm.
among all the talented women in this profession and in others. And so I would say Mary was instrumental in kind of giving me that perspective early on. And it's really easy as women to not support each other.
Mm-hmm.
We're sort of raised not to, we're raised to compete, but
Mm-hmm.
to override that programming to a degree
Mm-hmm.
and really focus on helping women succeed and grow and excel. Is something I learned, from others, not just Mary, but certainly as an early model, and have taken throughout my career.
Oh, I love that. And that's what Lindsay and I are trying to achieve doing this podcast is
Yeah.
feature all the wonderful women in our field and let everyone see that they can do the same thing. So now let's talk about that. Let's transition into a little bit before we started. You were telling me about the key session that you went to, and you were talking a little bit about all the different generations working together, not
Yeah.
just women, but and how we might think differently or act differently. So just tell us a little bit about that, how Widex took the initiative to create something like that or put something like that on.
Yeah, so on occasion, we have opportunities to join us on the Widex side in Hauppauge on Long Island in New York, on the Signia side in Islin in New Jersey, and have our customers come in, learn from each other, learn a little bit from us, and just collaborate in a way that, hopefully helps everyone walk away with great ideas to use in their own clinics or as audiologists and, hearing instrument specialists, and really just to leverage collective mind share to grow. The one particular that we were chatting about, I led a session that's probably one of my favorites where we had, as an organization, undertaken research with audiologists specifically, looking at differences in generations within the profession. What drives a particular generation? What's most important to them? What are their goals, short term and long term? And how do they find a sense of fulfillment, kind of topically? And so the workshop that we held, we shared some of the upfront, methodology of the trial or the study, and then broke them up in groups, not by their own generation, but they were assigned a generation. And first had to sort of, guess at or think about what would be important to that generation. So a group that represented the boomers, one for Gen X, one for millennials, and one for Gen Z. And then they shared that out with the room, and then we shared the outcomes. And there's some really interesting things. First of all, everyone who was assigned Gen Z, that flip chart like groaned, like, oh man, Gen Z. It's a really good point because number one, we're raising them. So,
Right.
whose fault is this? But secondly, this is the group that is going to figure out how to do everything better and more efficiently. And part of that is the learnings from this study where we find that when we look at our boomers, when we look at our Gen X, we tend to live to work. And that is our perspective, right? Put your head down, do your job. When you're done working, work some more. And that's how we're wired. When you get into sort of the younger millennials and the Gen Z, that script flips a bit and it's more working to live. And so this is the group that really values things like a shorter work week or extra time off, or not so much the monetarily incentive, though that's important to everyone. We work for a reason. But the things above and beyond that are really around time and space for them to live their life. And so it's why I say, and I'm a mom to a Gen Z, like if anyone's going to figure out how to do our work more efficiently, so that we don't have to do as much of it, it is this generation, and they're going to benefit all of us, right? For sure,
Right.
they're going to benefit all of us. But in the meantime, today we're in a clinic where you might have all of those individuals working together, or in my world, on the teams I lead, all of those individuals as part of the team. How do we understand where they come from, understand what's important to them, and then also communicate in a way that sort of acknowledges and respects that? So it was a really great workshop, and one that I think everyone had a lot of fun with, for obvious reasons, but also we learned a lot.
Yeah, and I would just love to do that for life. How do
Yeah.
you communicate with your daughter or your younger generation or your niece or just so there's so many differences among us. And it's also just being accepting of those differences
Yeah.
as
And
well.
and how we're, what are the experiences that we've had that have, created who we are today, and sort of recognizing that
Right.
even within a day-to-day clinic where it's so busy and everyone's running thing to thing, how do we
Yeah.
stop and, appreciate each other along the way?
Yeah.
But I
I
have a
think I
date.
should have been a Gen Z because I am where it's all about my time. Like I want to only work 3 days a week and I'm working for my business, not my business working for me. And I'm
Uh-huh.
very, very different than a lot of other private practice audiologists, but I've stuck to that. And it must be that I must have some Gen Z in
Some
me.
Gen
You
Z
do,
in your
yeah.
blood. I think
Yeah.
it translates, Noel, kind of like we talked about with like state organizations and even like
Yeah.
AAA and ADA. There's so much conversation around ASHA. How do we get more young audiologists involved and bought into the process? And I think things need to be done a little bit differently because what they
Yeah.
care about is a little bit different than the way
Yeah.
we've done things forever and ever. So yeah, it just all goes back to how we perceive and what we
Understanding. Yeah.
value, and it can all be so different.
Yeah.
Val, I think a good question is to a anyone listening right now, particularly I would say a young female finding her footing in her career path. What advice would you give to them right now? Maybe an audiologist, maybe not.
Yeah. I think the first thing, if you aspire to a formal leadership role, might be to lead from where you are.
Mhm.
And it gets thrown around that, leadership really isn't a title, it's a frame of mind, and
Mhm.
it's how we operate every day. And so, regardless of what you're doing today, if you're in a role where you're an individual contributor, you're in clinic, you're working on the manufacturing side of things or the industry side of things, you have an opportunity to lead. So that can be among your peer group. It can be in a group meeting where a question is asked and you speak up first and model that. It can be in the way that you operate, how you handle difficult things in the day or decisions you don't love or a hard time where you're having a bad month or whatever it is. So my first advice is, to lead from where you are. And also, if you aspire to do more things in your career, don't keep that a secret. Let
I
that
love
be
that.
known.
Hmm.
Talk to the people that lead you today, and let them know what you would like to do. That doesn't mean that position's gonna, materialize immediately,
Hmm.
but I think most good leaders and the approach I take is once I know where someone wants to go, it's much easier for me to help them get there.
Hmm.
And give
Yeah.
them the exposure and opportunities to learn and grow
Hmm.
that I know will help prepare them for whatever their next step is. And so let it be known where you would like to go and leverage the people who really want to help you get there.
Hmm.
And
Yes, I
then I
love
guess the third thing I would say, leadership is often about having difficult conversations. And that can be with your peers, it can be with those who, are on your team, all of those things. And so practice that piece. And
Hmm.
I'll just, speak as a Midwesterner where, I grew up in an environment where if you're upset with someone, the first thing you do is tell everyone but the person you're upset with.
that.
Then you
That's
allow
so
it to
true.
fester like deep in your gut for, I
Yeah.
don't know, 6 months to 10 years, something like
Oh
that.
my gosh.
And then at some event, likely where there's some cocktails involved, you blow. And so like that was the model I learned. And so I've had to deprogram
Hmm.
and have the hard conversations. I still don't love them. Nobody loves them, right? But I always think about what do I owe this person?
Yeah.
Be it my peer, be it someone I'm responsible to. What do I owe them? And if what is the outcome of me not having this conversation? If I don't have this conversation, what happens? And so that's every time I have to do it. That's how I get myself there. I think
Mhm.
about what I really owe the person who's going to be on the other end of
I
that.
love that.
So, as you're thinking about
Yeah.
this and moving into leadership, it's those things. Lead from where you are, make it known,
Mhm.
and practice leaning in and having those hard
Yeah.
conversations when you have
I
to.
love that.
Oh, that's the hardest thing. And what I figured out a long time ago, because I am definitely do not like conflict. I
Mhm.
figured out if you never have the conversation, you never move forward. You're
Yes.
Yeah.
always stuck in that energy. And once you have the conversation, it like opens up and anything can happen. So
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
just have to be willing to do it. And it, like you said, it's not an easy thing a
And I
lot.
think oftentimes we write our own narrative. Like we're already
Yeah.
planning how it's going to go. And oftentimes it's not as confrontational as what we are
Yeah.
pre-planning.
You're like, why didn't I do that, months ago
Yeah.
or
Yeah. The,
Yeah.
the lift that you get when you just
yeah.
handle things. It's so nice.
So we'll have to take lesson. I have to take some lessons from you, Valerie.
Yeah.
Always stepping into trying to do that better. And do we have any other questions, or should we go with the quick
I think
fire?
let's go with the quick fire questions.
Yeah,
I'm
so I'm just going to
excited
give
for
you a
these.
couple questions, little short answers.
Sure.
What word would you use to describe you and why?
Yeah. I thought about this one a lot, and I would say driven.
Mhm.
Um, that I am driven and have been both in my career, but also driven towards the success of others.
Mhm.
I like and that tenacity was good,
I
a
was
good
going to
word
say
for you then.
Yeah,
tenacity. We
Yeah.
were pretty
'Cause
close.
yeah.
yeah.
What would you do if money wasn't a concern?
Oh, that's easy. So I would open a bookstore, but not just a regular bookstore. It would be like have a wine shop with charcuterie in the middle, and then you could also buy books. And so, if money wasn't an issue, that's what I would do.
I
And you would
love
set
that.
those up in all the different places across the country, right? So we
Yeah,
could all
Yeah. So
enjoy
you have to
that.
travel to your bookstores.
right.
Yes. Oh, and I know this is a question a lot of people ask, but where do you see the profession in 10 years, let's
Yeah.
say?
I mean, we've been in a period of rapid change, I would
Mhm.
say already, call it the last 5 years. But
Mhm.
I think we'll see more assistance from AI as it comes to diagnostics and even fitting, which I think allows us to lean in further to the softer elements of what we do. I think that there is no replacement for audiology and or hearing care providers overall. And the work that we do is as much art as it is science.
Yeah.
And the art is never going to go away. And so I think there is a place and a strong place for all of us in this profession. But we may get some assistance
Mhm.
in the form of AI, in the form of, from a diagnostics perspective, which could take a lot of time and burden off of us if we
Yeah.
get to the point where it's done well. And
Right.
also, even in the fitting process that allows us to lean into the people. I also think, and maybe this is a little bit wishful thinking, I would love to see a greater integration with primary care
Mhm.
and audiology. And
Mhm.
I think that's a huge opportunity for us as we maybe get some of the burden of the things we have to do in clinic lifted by technology. We can lean into those relationships and how do we make sure that this is a conversation that's being had with
Yeah.
everyone by their primary care physician
Mhm.
and that they're referred to the right places.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good. And then lastly, what do you think we could do to make our profession better for all? Or do you have any last minute things that you want to talk about as far as WSA is concerned, or anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I would just say, how do we make it better? I've seen in the last couple of years some strides made in terms of the organizations collaborating more
Right.
and in a more cohesive way. But one, from a clinic perspective, an audiology perspective, I think it's about the collaboration.
Mhm.
Two, from a patient perspective, I think simplifying their journey is something we could work on collectively. The great news is that consumers, patients have more avenues than ever to get hearing care and more choice than ever. The flip side of that coin is there's a lot of noise
Mhm.
and a lot of confusion, and perhaps not every patient is making the best decision because of that noise. So,
Mhm.
how do we simplify a patient journey? And so, coming together to do that I think would help as well. And then certainly as the supplier of the widget as a hearing aid manufacturer and with a true desire to be a partner in all of that, I think there's a place for the manufacturers as well to support and help in all of those areas.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
Love that, Val. Thank you
Yeah,
so much
we're
for
so
joining.
appreciative of you in the industry
Yeah.
and your role that you play. And thank you for being willing to come and talk to us
Oh,
today.
thanks for having me. This has
Mhm.
been such an honor, truly. And I'm excited to have been here.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Val.
All right, I guess that's it for the Sound Sisters today. So we will see you next time on the Hearing Diaries. Thanks.